how to ride a berm brakeless, cutting the berm. You obviously want it to be slidey. It can be easy to actually do the cut. Have some fun with it because it can be super funny to get some wet drifts. This is how you do it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you another how-to video. A few of you guys requested it and I made a poll on the community page about whether I should do it, and it's how to ride a berm brakeless, which is basically drifting the berm, cutting the berm, slamming, smashing and shredding the berm. Riding berms normally does tend to involve no braking, well it should anyway, but this sort of berm technique is, we're just going to call it the drift for today. You guys will have probably seen it in my videos loads of times before. You'll have seen pro riders do it everywhere. It looks steezy. Yeah, I'm just going to attempt to teach you how to do it. I've got two berms behind me here, and there's actually some over there which I think I'm going to use a little bit more because they're more slidey. Let's get into the real sort of basics of it. It won't take too long, just a quick overview just so you guys know what I'm on about, know which berm to pick to do this on, and yeah, then we'll get to actually shredding it and showing you how to do it. So yeah, let's do it. Right, and so the first part to really mention and talk about is the condition of the berm and the weather. The best time to cut or drift in a berm is either on a berm that's super loose, sort of one that looks like this, that's got loads of stones on it, that's not really going to grip too well to your tyres. You obviously want it to be slidey to enable the tyres to lose grip, or you want it to be sort of wet, a bit sludgy. The sludgier the better, but sometimes in the end if it's too wet it can actually be really difficult to cut berms properly. It can be easy to actually do the cut, but getting out of the berm not on the floor is actually quite difficult. You'll find that once you've lost grip it's going to be really difficult for the bike to actually gain it again, but yeah, have some fun with it because it can be super funny to get some wet drifts. When it's not as wet as you want it to be, kind of like the conditions now, if you look at what I'm filming at the moment, you can see that everything's sort of really dry and it's gone all hard because it's winter. It hasn't rained here in quite a while, so at the moment the conditions here in this spot that I'm at, it's actually not working too well at the moment, which is super annoying. I can go around them really quick, but I can't seem to fire them really well, so we are going to head over to a different one and show you what a cut looks like in a minute. But yeah, optimum conditions for me are, if I don't have loam, it's this sort of dirt, but when it's a bit loose and it's like quite wet, like maybe a day after it's been raining or something, tends to be the best time to go drifting in berms because anything you go into is going to be slidey. Final thing to mention before I start teaching you this manoeuvre is tyre pressure. This method actually works sort of with any tyre pressure, but if it's the conditions that it's at now where everything's sort of hard and it's hard to actually slide into anything, then I'd personally recommend pumping up your tyres, because when your tyres are harder they don't really sag as much into the berms, which means there's less grip actually on the tyres, so you've got more of a chance of sliding your tyre into the berm. When it's super wet, I recommend dropping your PSI a little bit, more just riding it what you normally do. It should be around 25 to 30 if you're riding on trails. I actually run 25 now these days, and on the berms when it's a little bit wet, super good for drifting in. The way that helps is that once it's lost grip, it doesn't actually struggle to find the grip again. Once you've slid, you catch and then you fire out, and that's really how the cut works. With the lower tyre pressure, it's really useful to actually rely on the tyres to be able to catch the berm as you go around it. So yeah, this is how you do it though. Due to the fact of these crap conditions, I am actually going to throw some clips in of other older videos so I can speak over some better clips rather than all this crappy non-drifty stuff. I'm going to head over to the driftiest berm at the moment here, and then we'll get smashing. I've just brushed all the leaves out the berm so you can actually see it. Now, the first thing to mention is your choice of line. So on this berm here, for example, you typically want to come out of this berm and you'd want to go high, 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 and then kind of come in here to go into that one. But for when you want to cut the berm, you have to cut the berm. The best way I can describe it is to completely cut out the start of the berm, and you want to hit the berm at its midpoint. So I'm going to demonstrate on this one here. So the berm starts here, it ends there. So midpoint for me is here, and if we look, my cut line comes here. You can see this one really nicely. Comes here and then I fire there, as you can see. So that's directly in the middle, cutting and then firing out that way. So that is why it's called the cut. Once you've nailed berm choice, you'll start to sort of try it on lots of different berms. You'll learn which berms work better than others, and you'll be able to sort of gauge if it's going to fire you or not. The way to actually do this is, it's simple but it's scary. Speed and pumping, and more speed equals less pumping, so less speed equals more pumping basically. If you are a bit scared and you're just starting out, my #1 recommendation would be to take your foot off, and you want to take the foot off that's inside the berm. So you want to take your left foot off because it's inside the berm, not out of it. That way you can really pump it, you can really sort of just experiment with it and just see what happens. And you have your foot off, so if something goes wrong, you just slam your foot down. And even if you end up going down, you've got your foot down first, so the crash isn't going to be painful or anything. As for more speed equals less pump, basically the quicker you go into the berm, the easier it's actually going to be to lose grip and slide into the berm. So if you're feeling a little bit daring, or you've tried it a few times already, build up your speed, you won't have to pump as much. But pumping is the #1 key. Once you get to the midpoint, it's exactly the same as riding a berm normally. So where you would normally pump a berm, you do exactly the same thing, except you're cutting out the start like I've mentioned. So you just straight line, pump here and turn really hard, and then you'll go off that way, and you will have cut the berm and fired it properly. I'm actually going to get some slow-mo clips on the GoPro now. I'm going to cut the berm a few times with my foot off and with my foot on, and then you'll be able to see exactly what I mean, because it is quite difficult to actually imagine what I'm trying to explain to you by going in the middle and pumping and speed, etc, etc. So hopefully these slow-mo clips can help you work it out a little bit more. This is how you do it. Right then, so there you go. Hopefully with them slow-mos you can now see exactly what I mean. That's basically the end of the video, but before you click off, here's a couple of tips that you need to remember. #1 is, the point of this drift is that it's brakeless. So do not brake, because either 1, you're gonna completely just stop dead in the berm and you're not gonna do anything impressive. 2, you're gonna go too far and you're gonna go over the berm and actually crash, because if you're cutting it like that and you're locking up the brake, you're completely losing traction on the back wheel, which means it's going to slide completely freely out the top of the berm, and then you are going to die if you don't know how to control that. 3, with a cut, when you're doing it brakeless, it pumps you and fires you out of the berm, and you can actually carry on and keep going super quick. It gives you a real big boost of speed. So if you're braking, once you've actually finished the cut, you're not going to go anywhere because you've got your brakes on. So you're going to basically stop dead just after the berm, which sucks. The other final thing that I should mention is that the more you cut the berm, the better the drift is going to be, and the more sort of perpendicular you are to the actual berm, to the point that you're cutting, the better it's going to work. If you can cut the berm at 90 degrees to the angle of the bit you're aiming for, you're going to do it so insane. I could probably hit that there, which is dead straight, and I would fire so much out the back. Wouldn't be able to go quick and do it, but the more you improve, the better that's going to happen. These are my drift marks. The berm starts here. You can see that I'm cutting right in the middle of the berm there, and the furthest one I did was actually here, which would have kicked there, which is directly central with the berm, which means that I cut that at more or less probably about a 50-degree angle. And yeah, that is it, my friends. I hope that was an informative tutorial. If I left anything out or you need to know something else, let me know and I'll reply in the comments. But hopefully this video covered everything you need to know. Yeah, if you enjoyed this vid, let me know also. Give me some ideas of some videos you want to see in the comments below. Any other how-tos, just anything really. And yeah, I'll get to it. So have a good one. See you in the next one.
I just wanna have some fun.